Once again, my name is Jason Zajac. I am the Vice President of Sales and Marketing for MBK Tape Solutions. To my left is Jeff Kaminsky. He's the CEO of MBK Tape Solutions. He's been at MBK for 39 years and been servicing the medical industry for over 25 years. And at the end of the table is Deepak Prakash. He's a Senior Director of Global Marketing for Advancive Medical Technologies and Avery Dennison Company. He's been with Advancive Medical for 9 years and has over 20 years in the med tech space with companies like GE, Hollister, and Avery Dennison. Just so you guys know, Advancive Medical is a subsidiary of Avery Dennison Corporation. So we're going to talk today about bringing your wearable device, your stick-to-skin wearable device to market, and some of the questions and concerns that we hear throughout the industry, and maybe enlighten everyone in here on some of the things we do and the approach we take when we're designing and developing a lot of the wearables for the market. So I'm going to get going if everyone's good. So Jeff, I'll start with you. So when MBK is approached by a company looking to bring a stick-to-skin wearable to market and asks you for a suggestion on what tape to use, how do you determine the right tape for the application?
We would drill down on the application, start asking questions about what part of the body is it going to be worn on? Is it going to be on the back where it's not going to have much movement going on? Is it going to be on an elbow or a knee or someplace else where there's going to be a lot of movement or chafing? Try and determine, ask the question, how long are you going to be wearing this? Is it going to be a matter of a few hours, a few days, or are you going to try and get up to a couple of weeks? What is the age group that it's going on? Is it going on neonatal or geriatric or just anybody in between? Because types of skins change obviously at a neonatal or geriatric versus, you or I. What type of environment is it going to be in? Will they be, swimming and running, different things like that that might take a toll on the adhesion levels? What else? Weight. What is the weight of the device that it's going to have to hold in place? Is it, a couple of grams, or are we getting into ounces, things like that? So all that stuff comes into consideration as far as, what to lead with what adhesives. And then we will then work with the Advancives of the world and rely upon their expertise as well to have suggestions that they may put forth, because we're all working on different projects. They're working on projects worldwide as we are, but we're not always working on the same project. So whatever experience that people can input into the whole analysis is going to be helpful.
Sure, but before I do, parking was a big problem. So if you have a white pickup truck against the back wall in the parking lot, I might be blocking you. So I am the car blocking, but I will be out of here soon. Just that fun. Before I just answer the question, let me just introduce the company. We're part of Avery Dennison, it's a Fortune 400 company. So everything from labels to retail branding to stop signs, we do all this stuff. But the medical division focuses primarily on things that stick to skin. So you heard Jeff and Jason mention, once you understand the requirements, the key part is to stick to the skin, and that's where we come in. We understand skin science very well. And a lot of the requirements that Jeff mentioned really is all about solving conflicting requirements. Everybody wants things to stick to skin for a long time, but then they want it to be gentle as well. So think of your Band-Aid, So it's all about resolving those conflicts of interest. And the beauty of being part of a large company, of course, is we bring a lot of expertise and resources, not only what we can offer as standard solutions, but heavy research and clinical rigor as well. That we can bring to bear, because as he said, especially in the wearables market, which is booming and growing at a rapid pace, understanding the needs of different patient types is critical, and the only way you can get that level of understanding is through clinical rigor. because no solution, our sales force would love solutions that work just like that, but oftentimes it involves understanding the requirements, working with process experts like MBK, and understanding the requirements and trying to validate that through proper clinical rigor.
So once you guys vet the customer, you get all the details on the actual specifications and the application, how can you guys individually help design for manufacturability?
Another excellent question, Jason. That gets into a very challenging area because oftentimes device, it starts in the engineering department and people come up with different ideas about physical properties that they want to have. And if they don't have experience in that field, then they aren't necessarily thinking about, for example, who's going to be putting this on. Is it going to be a clinician? Is it going to be the patient? Is this going to occur in the ER or the OR where their clinicians are wearing gloves? So you have to think through the whole process of who's going to be putting it on, how is it going to be put on, and where is it going to be put on, and try and design a product so that the delivery of the product is easy to use. The other big challenge is, what is the other big challenge?
Getting it off.
Getting it off, always a problem in some cases. So I don't know if you guys ever knew this, but for example, like Tegaderm patches or something like that is a lot like the adhesive. You can't just, people tend to peel things off and it hurts and it ouches. So there's, different ways you have to train people in how to get these things off, and you have to create tabs to facilitate pulling them off or exposing liners to expose the adhesive so that it will adhere to the body easily.
It's competition, Jeff, so keep saying whatever you want about that.
I know. They don't know who that is. They thought you make them. So there's a whole slew of challenges that go on. And it's critical that we have that opportunity to work with those people that are designing the product so that they start thinking about, how this is going to be delivered. And the other big challenge is these things typically they start up as prototypes and move from there into scalability. So you have to think of, okay, I can make this product very easily on a small scale, but can I manufacture it on a very large scale? And how quickly can that happen? Can I do that without having to invest millions of dollars in very specialized equipment? Or can I do that using my converted existing equipment? So those are the challenges, and if you want to be successful, you have to consider all that lays ahead of you.
And not much to add other than for all the startups out there that's designing products, we say design for use, design for purpose, design for manufacture. You have no idea how many times only one of the three is met sometimes. It's a great product, but can't manufacture. Very easy, but it doesn't meet the purpose. So you got to hit all three, like he just said, to have a success to the marketplace. Especially with wearables as such, where it's trying to disrupt legacy technologies, whether it's in monitoring, glucose monitoring, or any of the other stuff, ECG, Holters, whatever it is. You're displacing legacy technologies, and having the economy worked out is going to be extremely critical. Because if you have a solution that is just as expensive as legacy, well, why would somebody switch? Why would somebody switch? It's reimbursements there, so why would they switch? So you have to have something that's a lot more inexpensive to commercialize, and the key to that is making it manufacturing in a very cost-effective manner. And for all of you in the startup world, bring in the Jasons and the Jeffs early on, because God forbid you should go down the path and then find out that you can't manufacture. Everything changes. Your design changes. Your clinical validation probably changes. It's going to be brutal.
to that point, what Deepak just mentioned, we've experienced that firsthand on a number of occasions where people have brought it to that point where they've got approval, all this stuff is done, they've heavily invested, and then now they can't make it because it's too complicated. It just can't be done. So, very important point.
And to add as well, I know Jeff had touched on this from manufacturability. So everyone in this room has used a Band-Aid at some point, right? If you get them from Walgreens, they work great. If you get them from the dollar store, what happens? Not so great, right? Peeling off the liners, they rip, they tear. A lot of things that MBK kind of brings to the table that I've seen throughout my years there is we design the solution for the end user to put it on, whether it's a butterfly fold on a liner, a lift tab to easily get it on or off, a pull tab to bring it off the body after the usage is done. Very, very ease of manufacturing from our end, but it also helps both the OEM that we're selling to or the CM that's applying different aspects to the part, as well as the consumer who's going to be using it at the end of the day. So those are just small things that we ask a lot of potential clients and existing customers, how can we make this easier for everyone in the value chain? So kind of moving on, obviously we talked about vetting the customers and getting the right information up front. If somebody wanted to do research ahead of time prior to, bringing the product to market, any suggestions on where they can look online or where they can find your guys' information at?
Well, and probably the best spot for if you want to work with a converter like us is to go to the MBK Tape Solutions website, mbktape.com, and we have a lot of support evidence. We have white papers, we have pictures, we have videos that explain the process, how to get from point A to point B, and so on and so forth. And we have a phone number that people use frequently after they've gotten to a point in their research and decided, well, I think MBK might be a good place to start with. So they pick it up and they start talking to one of our sales team members that will help them through the process and guide them with questions, but with probing questions so that the end user is going to start thinking about, oh, these are things that I haven't thought about or haven't considered, and I can see now how important that might be. So let's move this project forward. And that would be the starting point. And from there, we would take we might do a face-to-face, come into our sample room, which we call our candy store at MBK, because we have samples of all kinds of materials that we can, put together on the spot with different liners and get some real excitement going there. So,
Yeah, you can visit our website, www.avedenson.com or vanciv.avedenson.com. If you know what you're looking for materials-wise, we have an app as well, both on iOS and Android, so you can play around with the app. And those in the local area can bug the guy in the white shirt here. And he has a lot of information and samples, etc., to help you as well. So there's multiple ways to get information to you.
and I can attest to the app. It's a really good app. I use it myself just for that reason, to start narrowing things down. So if you're interested, download it.
Agree. There's a lot of information out there online, as everyone knows, but if you really dial in, I think the greatest tools that we bring to the market at MBK is our website. There's, to Jeff's point, there's so many white papers out there and so many articles we wrote over the years on stick-to-skin wearables. I know one of the first articles I contributed to our website 5 years ago was talking about long-term wear being, 5+ days. Now that's like standard issue. 5 years later, long-term wear is 14 to 21 days. Can you imagine putting something on your body and having it there, any kind of wearable device for 21 days? It's happening. It's possible. We're doing that right now for some monitors for post-op knee surgery, that the monitors are staying above the knee to make sure that the physical therapy is being done and that the insurance companies are reimbursing for the right reasons because PT is actually being done and is monitoring the PT. So there's so many different sources of information, but I think one thing that we have going for us at MBK is our legacy in this industry. We got into it little over 7 years ago, and we kind of pioneered from 1 day, 5 day, 10 day, now we're up to 21 days wear time. So we work with the greatest companies. Vance is amazing. The product I'm speaking of is utilizing their adhesive. They make some phenomenal products. As Jeff said, their app is awesome to use if you guys are looking for specific things. And if not, we still actually have a live operator when you call in and say, hey, I'm looking for A to stick to me. You're going to get a live person at MBK. So I know it's pretty phenomenal that nobody does that anymore, but I feel like that's a huge value proposition we bring. So kind of pivoting a little bit here, you know, we talk a lot about what we ask and what we do. So what do you guys see on the horizon in the med tech industry, and how are you guys positioning your companies to service the future needs of stick-to-skin wearables?
Well, I think most people in this room realize the stick-to-skin marketplace is one of the fastest growing in our industry, without a doubt. So how do you do that? You have to be able to respond quickly to people's requests. You have to have people like Vance to rely upon for their expertise to move it forward, and the ability for them to provide samples to you quickly. You have to have the equipment in place to meet your customer inquiries. How quickly can you put together a prototype? Is it a matter of days or weeks, or is it going to be months? We have that ability, you know, through laser cutting and other means to put together prototype samples rather quickly. And then you have to have the design expertise and experience so that when it comes to scaling up the product, you know, what are going to be the needs? Is it going to be, you know, a few $100,000 a year? Is it going to be several million a year or more? How are you going to do that? So we have, you know, the design team in place to do that, and then equipment. How are you going to, you know, meet the demands for the equipment? We're continually, for example, we have some new equipment coming in the next couple of weeks that's, you know, state of the art. It can do literally anything and everything, and maintain controls over sizes, and be able to do super tight tolerances, and, you know, island placements, and pretty much all that you need to move forward with a product and be able to do it on a, you know, a high production rate, and be able to ensure quality. So it all has to come together and be, you know, basically seamless to the end customer. You know, you have to be able to talk about it and then do it and deliver upon it. So.
Yeah, keeping pulse in the marketplace is extremely critical, especially in wearables where it's going to be phenomenal. We were one of the pioneers in this space about 6-7 years ago, and to see where it is today compared to where it was, amazing. And then 5 years down the road, we'll be sitting here and we'll be talking how amazing growth has been. But one of the critical avenues for that feedback is, of course, partners like you guys who are working with OEMs yourself, and we hear that. We also have relationships with some of the largest OEMs in MedTech directly as well, so we hear there. We are also part of many associations and, you know, Quick Talk Leadership, et cetera, out there. Bring those resources to bear as well to get the marketplace feedback. It's extremely important because, yes, startups are a key part of that growth that we see, but a lot of the OEMs are equally nimble. Some of the largest OEMs are equally nimble in the space, and there's some amazing technologies that they're working on. Obviously, you don't hear, bigger the company, more stealth they are in one way, because they're not going to tell you out until they, you know, prove out the solution, etc. But this space is poised, is already amazing growth. If you see, those of you follow, you know, in glucose monitor, the Dexcoms and the Abbots and the Tandems and the insulins, you see the growth there, the highest growth ever in some of the space other than surgical robotics. But then you see where some of the other partners are in the vascular space and ECG, etc., EEG. The growth is going to be just phenomenal. So I think working with, especially if you're in startups, etc., working with experts who understand how to bring products to market, like MBK, like Jeff just mentioned, is going to be critical, because you heard the previous speaker mention kind of giving investors, etc., the confidence that you're working with the right partner, the right team is going to be critical, and these guys are know their stuff.
Yeah, I just want to add, it's all about quality care and how you deliver it. If you deliver quality, people are going to be happy, they're going to want to come back. You're going to help them with their health needs, and you got a happy customer.
That's awesome, guys. I'm sure everyone in this room realizes in the next 5 to 10 years, primary care physicians are probably going to be a thing of the past. Everyone's monitoring themselves. The wearable market space, to Deepak's point, is just revolutionary in its thinking, and everyone wants to know immediately what's going on, from WebMD to actually monitoring your own vitals to understanding, monitoring your own glucose if you're diabetic. It's pretty cool. We get to work with some of the greatest minds in the industry and see some of the stuff coming on the next level. And honestly, it's a challenge every day, but it's one of the funnest things we get to do within our role. So, from a call to action, guys, how do they find you guys if they're looking for more information on MBK Tape or Advanced Medical?
Websites and the telephone, two best tools. We also exhibit at various shows, MDM shows, East and West, and Biomed shows, and we come here, and there's a couple other places. So being out there, being available, trying to demonstrate. When you're done in here, if you go outside, you'll see our setup outside. We have a mannequin there so you can see how some of the stuff is being used in the different types of products that go on to it. So again, creating a brand, trying to make sure people are aware of it, continually, making available new videos online for people that are seeking information and being able to provide the information that people are looking for. So check out the website, pick up the telephone, and we love working on new projects.
Yeah, website, social media, either our business social media or our corporate parent social media on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. Contact us via their website. Trade shows as well, both domestic and international. We exhibit in various shows. For those of you from outside the U.S., you can contact us there. Of course, our sales force, both domestic and international sales force, you can contact them as well. All that is on the website as well.
And I know he's not on the panel, but Brad Orlowski from Advanced Medical will be here all day. He is the sales engineer for Advanced. He'll be popping around, white shirt. There he goes. So if anybody wants to ask him any more further questions in regards to your tape needs, he can help you. I think I have a minute to ask any questions in the audience for anybody up here today. And we have a table right outside the door, manned by my colleague Brandon up top there, and our lovely model Susie, as Jeff had mentioned. Great. Thank you everyone for your time. I really appreciate it.